one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nancy, you want to do roll call?
Ellen. Here. Belly.
Present.
Considine. Barster.
Here.
Gibbler. Gibbler. Horseman.
Here.
Hudson.
Present.
Humphrey.
Here.
Copain.
Here.
McLean.
Here.
Lyrum. Lyrum. Nicholson.
Here.
Norberg.
Here.
Palin.
Here.
Sheline.
Here.
Shippert.
Present.
Scrogstad.
Here.
White.
Here.
Williams.
Present.
Wilson. Wilson. Zeman.
Here.
Olson.
Here. Thank you. Under announcements, we have please mute or turn off your cell phones. There's sanitizer over on the table and face masks if you feel you need them. Becky set them out. We'll start it out with Carrie Fulkin from Best. Carrie.
Good evening. Thank you again for allowing me to come out and talk a little bit about our services and programs that Best Incorporated or the Business Employment Skills Team offers. My name is Carrie Fulkin. I'm the Executive Director for Best Incorporated. I've been with the agency for about 28 years and the Director a little bit over a year. Best administers the workforce program, also called WIOA or Title I, whichever way you want to know it by. It covers 8 counties, with Lee County being one of the counties that we serve. The program helps individuals who meet our federal income guidelines or federal guidelines to become more employable, receive some job skills training, and also to be job ready. We also receive funds for an opioid grant. That is a 2-year grant, and the apprenticeship grant, also an 18-month grant. This just helps us more drill down on services. We're playing baseball over here. Services that are more specific for that population. You should have received in your packet or on the table earlier today some statistical information, a breakdown of our numbers for individuals that are from Lee County. Like I said, we do cover 8 counties, so this is just drilled down specifically for Lee County. The one that is not just for specifically for Lee County is we do have a youth contract with the Regional Office of Education. So you'll see a number there. It's called Investment for Our Youth. And those youth are from 3 different counties. So that's just the difference between that. Otherwise, everything else is there from Lee County. Although last year was something out of the ordinary for all of us, it was something that we weren't really prepared for as far as everything going electronically and shutting down. But our staff overcame the things that we needed to do. We were still able to do remote services. We were still able to have appointments, case management via Zoom or Skype. I think we all became very familiar with the electronic means of how to talk to people and see their picture. Our business relations reps also had to find out new ways to serve our business relationships with the area businesses. And I have with me tonight a couple of success stories that I wanted to share. We are doing a real big push for work-based learning. There is a big need for workers in the workforce right now. And so one of our services that we do is work-based learning is work experience, where we pay 100% of the wages for the individual who is eligible for our services. The other work-based learning component is on the job training, where we pay a percentage during a training period for that individual, but they are the employer, the business is the employer of record. So I'm just going to share a couple quick successes with you. Megan's job at the photo processing business in Rockford was eliminated when her employer in Rockford closed the door. Megan came in as a dislocated worker, and we funded her to go back to school for computer tech. The work in various aspects of computer support. While she was still working on her classes, she went to work for Wiggins Computer in Dixon. And after that business was sold, Doug decided to offer Megan an internship. Within a short amount of time, Doug opted to convert her work experience internship into an on-the-job training program. She is expected to complete her on-the-job training in October and be offered that full-time unsubsidized employment. Another example is we had a high school student enrolled in our program who was interested in working after school. Susan, the executive director at Lee County Council of Aging, agreed to bring her on as an intern, and in a short time, the student became a big help with decorating and assisting in various fundraisers. The pandemic, of course, put a stop to all of that in-person activity, but the center did see a need for her, so Susan redesigned her work plan, and the individual was able to stay on as a work experience. And she just completed her on-the-job training in April of this year, and now is a full-time employee at Lee County Council of Aging. So as we build tomorrow's workforce, Lee County should be very proud of its businesses and its individuals that participate. The relationship that we have built are strong and successful, and hopefully long-lasting. And I just thank you again for allowing me to come and share the successes. We have a small little office in back of this courtroom in the Lee County, for the Lee County residents. We also serve the Sauk Valley Community College individuals either through this office or our Sterling office. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Anybody got any questions or comments?
We appreciate Sally.
Yes, we do.
And John and Marilyn do know about our services and programs.
Thank you. Clara Harris, the Goodfellows.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me. And I do appreciate the honor of being here to talk about our agency. I'm with Goodfellows of Lee County. We've been around 109 years. We're the oldest non-for-profit organization that is helping people in need in Lee County. Our main focus is a Christmas assistance where families can apply with us. They have to meet an income guideline and prove that the people that they put on the application live within their residence. When they do that, then they are able to come to us. They receive a food voucher. They get clothing, coats, snow pants, hats, gloves, various items that are needed that way. They get toys. The older adults receive things from adult or household section. And we have a couple sections we call Granny's Cupboard. You and I would refer to those as stocking stuffers, because that's what we did when our children were little. And I still do that for my grandchildren. We are trying to put ourselves in a permanent location. 3 years ago, the Telegraph brought their business back to Dixon and vacated 3 agencies out of their building, and we were one of them. We sought refuge. A number of churches in the area did offer us to be housed within their buildings, but because we would have to tear down daily, and if anyone has ever been to our facility and saw what we put out for our Christmas, that's a hard task to achieve at the end of the night. We would have been just tearing down to put right back up. So when Church of the Brethren in Franklin Grove said you can have safe haven here, and we were hoping for a short time, this will be our 3rd year we will be there until you obtain a building. We finally, after 67, looking into 67 locations, do have a bid on Lincoln Avenue Church of God. It's at the corner of Lincoln and 7th Street here in Dixon, Illinois. Then we bid $150,000. That's what they asked. We agreed to that. And we at this point have raised $80,000. We are in the midst right now of a raffle. Once that's completed next Wednesday, there will be more added to that amount. I can't say for sure how much we have in that for sure, other than the 80,000 that is there at this moment. We're reaching out to county, city boards, agencies, the general public. We were at the city market last night to help us with that goal of reaching the rest of the money. We have already obtained with a local bank that we can receive funds in a loan for whatever amount we don't come up with prior to us taking over that building in January. The church is moving, they're growing, and they're putting themselves in a new location. We do work in the community, all of Lee County, with a lot of agencies. We're not just a Christmas program. We've kind of grown because a lot of places have reached out to us. So we're helping the YW, we're helping the recovery houses, the pad shelters. We work with Teen Turf very closely. We do shop with a cop, shop with the sheriff. A lot of agencies take names of families from us at Christmas time and provide for those families. So we're just trying to put ourselves in a permanent location so that we can continue the 109 years that the agency's been out there helping people in need. So I thank you for inviting me, and I hope that you show us support. I always tell people, if you're not able to give, because you always have that sweet little lady who doesn't have but $1 and she throws it in your donation thing, give us prayer. We need that. We want to continue with what we do for the public, and we want this agency to be around long after all of us are gone, but still surviving within Lee County. Our number of clients, I won't give you last year's statistics, as the young lady ahead of me pointed out. COVID really hit hard, and that stimulus money kept a lot of people from applying because they get what we give them, and that way they could have bought what they wanted. So some of them chose to do that. But the numbers the year before, we serviced 235 families, 1,700 people, and out of that, 992 of them were from Dixon. So being located in Dixon seems to be the most ideal spot for us to be, because the majority of our clients come here. We did make sure that we provided through Lee County Council on Aging their bus and van service, that everyone got to the location we were housed in, just because we didn't want that to be the hardship that kept them from receiving. Not sure what else you would like to know. Is there any questions?
Questions or comments for Clara?
Pardon?
I said, is there any questions or comments for Clara?
I thank you for letting me come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to approval of board minutes from the regular county board meeting. Any corrections, changes, or corrections? Yes, Mr. Forster.
Vote to approve.
I vote to approve. Motion to approve. Do I have a second? Mr. Humphrey, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. We got a resolution for Joseph Myers tax auctions. Do I have a motion to approve? Mr. Norberg, Mr. Nicholson seconds it. It'll be a roll call vote.
Humphrey,
Yes.
Copain,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Norberg,
Yes.
Palin,
Yes.
Sheline,
Yes.
Shippert,
Yes.
Krogstad,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
Considine, Farster,
Yes.
Horstman,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Motion carried. We'll go on to I got a resolution appointing Thomas Kitson to fill District 4 vacancy for a term effective August 19th, 2021 and end in November 30th, 2022. Tom moved out of District 3 into District 4 and be filling Jim Whitley's position on the board. Letters has been sent out for both political parties to fill Tom's vacancy for District 3. Do we have a motion? Jim Sheeline first, Arlen seconds it. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Clerk Peterson will give Mr. Kitson the oath of office.
I, Thomas R. Kitson, having been appointed to the office of the county board in the fourth district of Lee County in the county of Lee, state of Illinois, solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the Lee County Board, District 4.
Welcome back, Mr. Kitson. We'll go down to petitions coming to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I've got A through J. First, I'd like to entertain a motion to pass all the petitions at once. Katie White and Mr. Bailey seconds it. All those in favor by passing all the petitions at once signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion carries. So now I entertain a motion to pass all the petitions on to the ZBA. Mr. Kitson moves. Do I have a second? Mr. Valley seconds it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. No petitions to the Planning Commission, no petitions from the Zoning Board of Appeals, no petitions from the Planning Commission. Board member comments. At this time, anybody got a comment? Any board member want to comment? If none, we'll keep moving on. Public visitors. Any public visitors? Get the list. I don't see any. We'll move on to reports. We'll start with finance. Mr. McLean.
I wanted to give Mr. Sheeline a little time. We had an important insurance meeting that he chaired today, that there's information you guys need to act on. So, Jim?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we had, as the insurance committee met in April, and then we met again in the end of July. And a lot of that was revolved around, I was new to the insurance committee, and then we hired Wendy as administrator, and Wendy was trying to get up to speed. And so as we were looking at the pieces of how the health insurance plan was put together, and there came to be at a meeting that was last week. I always, these last couple of weeks that ran together, and Cindy Zykal, who is with Gallagher, who's the broker for our health insurance plan, we discovered that there was a conflict within the plan. And what that conflict was that as the layers of coverage, which start out with the beginning lower level, had a component that's called an FSA, which is flexible spending account, that employees were able to have dollars put into that account and then spend through the year. But as you went up the ladder and you got to the Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is our excess coverage part, that's actually a high deductible HSA account. And it was Cindy discovered that she wasn't aware that there was these two components, and according to IRS rules, they're incompatible. And so it put the employees in a potentially bad position. It definitely put us as a county in a difficult position. And so and the solution that Cindy came up with was to change our plan and remove the HSA, the health savings account component. So it's still, Blue Cross Blue Shield is still going to be a high deductible coverage plan. This change in this resolution that's before you is no change to the county's costs. There is no change to the employees' coverage. There is no change to the employees' deductibles. There is no change to the employees' costs. This is simply a name change. But it is because of the rules and the way our FOP contract specifically has it. If there's any significant change, this type of situation has to be passed by the insurance committee and then passed on through resolution through the full county board. So that's what's before you tonight. Cindy, I know you're here with us tonight. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, that was good. That was a nice overview.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would entertain, I think that's all I have. That's the resolution before us. It was passed unanimously out of the insurance company this morning. I'd entertain any questions.
Do you want to work with that resolution now? It's H under new business. Is that a motion to approve?
That's to your pleasure. I'd make that motion if you want to do it now.
Let's do it. Mr. Norberg seconds it. Any comments or any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thanks, Jim. Mr. McLean.
We've been working hard on budget. It's been a very complicated process this year, and I think we've met with everybody we need to meet with. Hopefully at the next finance committee meeting, we can make decisions and come back with recommendations to you guys for the next, for at least discussion at the next board meeting. Committee's worked real hard. I want to personally thank Jim because he's had to answer a whole bunch of questions. I'm what? I thought I would. Anyway, is there any stuff's in the minutes? They're long. It's been a lot of hard work. We're taking on a lot of issues such as adding staff and $15 an hour thing that comes by law and whatever. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them if I can.
Any questions for Arlen? Thank you, Arlen. Move on to transportation solid waste. Mr. Sheeline.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Solid Waste Committee met last Monday at usual time and place and the usual suspects present. We took care of the claims and I would move the claims at this time.
Do I have a second for claims? Mr. Forster seconds it. All those in favor or left, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead.
As you have in your minutes, the substantive part of the report is that we do have and you'll see in resolution at the end in your packet, a budget amendment. We have recommended to the finance committee, and that was passed on through the resolution for a additional budget amendment for appropriation for $270,000 for equipment purchases in fiscal year 2021. If you have any questions on that, Dave Anderson is present here and will entertain any questions in that regard.
Any questions for Dave or Jim?
Okay. And we talked about the UTV, and there was a couple of things, just minor amendments that we wanted to make to the UTV ordinance. And as far as solid waste report was, and as usual, I like to report on how many pounds of electronic equipment that we have taken in, and we're up to 60,000 pounds of old TVs, computers, and all that whatnot that we collect down there at Amboy. So anyway, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Mr. Sheeline?
That's just crazy.
Thanks, Jim. Move to properties, planning and zoning, Mr. Nicholson.
Yep, good evening, everybody. Met last Tuesday, 9 o'clock. And the reports in the agenda, with the agenda. Had a long meeting, discussed a number of different things. Ms. Ryerson gave a very good presentation on the new claims process, some of that. Everything just seemed to take a little more time. Discussed some budget items with Mr. Saunders. As everybody's aware, the building is progressing nicely. They're getting the building sandblasted, tuck pointed, and they're working around toward the front and starting to work on the west side now. That's about it. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholson. Administrative Services, Mr. Norberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had our meeting last Monday. A couple things to report. Nancy's getting some mail back from the increased fees. So she's starting to see that come in and out, but the fees are increased for the assessment office. Other than that, pretty standard meeting. We talked about the claims process. It's going along quite well, and we are working on the rules and procedures, which we're hoping to have to you guys for next month to vote on in October. So reports in the packet if you have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Norberg? Thanks, Chris. Move on to public safety, Mr. Copine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chair Shippert. She handled the meeting in my absence. I was out east. Thank you.
Thank you. Our meeting was pretty routine. We approved the claims, discussed the UTV ordinance, which has been mentioned previously. We did have two guests, Steve Dilger and Mark Infield from Blackhawk Trail Riders. They didn't really have anything new to say, but they were present to answer questions, had there been any. Wendy talked about the claims process that's been discussed at other committees. I think that was it. Thank
Any
you.
questions for Marilyn? Thank you, Marilyn. Go to Blackhawk Hills Regional Council, Mr. Nicholson.
We met last week. Basically, it's an update. It's a very well-structured meeting, and I attend by phone or Zoom, whichever. But Mr. Shaw gave us the update on what's going on with the enterprise zone. Quite a bit of activity, actually, because of development over around Rochelle. And as everybody's aware, there's a new hotel going in on the south side of town. The rest were just reports on what they're doing. Emily Lauderdale is the regional planner. She brought us up to date on what the updates on the Greenways Trail is doing. Sorry, you have to excuse me. I made some notes here and I'm having trouble reading my own notes. Oh, there's still some cures money that had been distributed to towns that's unused. We also had a discussion on the ARP money that was distributed out to various towns and counties, and had a discussion on the usage of that. As you're all aware, that's a little more complicated than it appears to be up front. So if anybody has any questions on that, I'll answer.
Any questions for Mr. Nicholson? Thanks, John. Move on to 911 Board, Keen Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Dallas advised me that there was nothing in addition to report to the board other than what she has already provided to the board.
All right, thank you. Go to tourism, Mr. Palin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met yesterday, August 18th. Now going into digital advertising. It's when they bring up any subjects like for art or history or nature, person also have the option of clicking on us on Lee County for attractions in that area. The other activities, Lee County, Amboy Depot Days, starting August 26th, week from today. And of course, they gonna have carnival and beer garden, live bands, parade, car and truck motorcycle show, and the important 50-50 drawing. Also, Pawpaw Lions Club, Labor Day celebration, truck tractor pull, and anniversary fireworks show, a parade, and they're also at the Franklin Creek State Natural Area. They're going to have a 10K run and a 1 mile walk on Saturday, September 11. And in Dixon, going to have on September 4th, going to have a show featuring music from Broadway shows. And should be very interesting. And also on the shows the state of recovery here after the COVID, about air passengers and hotel occupancy and travel all up quite a bit. And a result of that, our portion of the hotel motel tax for June was $10,794.74. This concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Palin? Thanks, Bill. Move on to Health Department. Ms. Katie White, I think you or Kathy's going to do it.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. We did not have a meeting this month, but Mrs. Ferguson Allen from the Health Department is on and she will give a brief update for us. Stephanie, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Katie. Just a quick update on COVID. Cases continue to surge across the country. We're seeing increases here in Lee County, as all counties in Illinois are. Last week, we had 37 new cases reported. Yesterday alone, we received 10 new reports. So not on a good path right now. Our county is in the substantial transmission category. We have a new case rate of 88 currently. Nationwide, the Delta variant accounts for 90% of COVID cases. And as you all know, the Delta variant has been kind of a game changer. In terms of vaccine, we're still promoting it to anyone who hasn't been vaccinated yet. It's very readily available for anybody who wants it. It's available here at the Health Department, KSB, and all the area pharmacies. We're very close to 50% of the Lee County population being fully vaccinated. We're inching our way there. We're at 48.94%. So what's really been in the news the last several days are third doses and boosters. So the difference between those, third doses are what have been approved right now for people who are moderately or severely immunocompromised. So the third dose is recommended because people with compromised immune systems may not have built up the same level of immunity that others have. And they're very vulnerable to COVID and more at risk for serious illness. So in this population, the third dose can be given as long as there's 28 days between doses 2 and 3. This is for Moderna and Pfizer vaccine. J&J started later, so they simply don't have enough data right now to make that recommendation, but studies are ongoing, so that may come in the future here. About 3% of the overall population is immunocompromised. Now, boosters, on the other hand, those are being recommended for the majority of the population to boost our waning immunity. And this isn't a surprise. We speculated when we started giving the vaccine that at some point we would need to give boosters. We just didn't know when. So we'll likely start doing those next month for people who had dose 2 at least 8 months prior. We will start doing third doses for immunocompromised individuals at a walk-in clinic tomorrow here at the health department from 9 to noon. And in addition to COVID vaccine, we're doing back to school shots. And in October, we'll be doing flu shots. And just a little side note, they're saying flu shots may actually be protective against severe COVID illness. And that is because they reduce the risk of stroke, sepsis, and blood clots. So get your flu shots as well as COVID vaccine. Were there any questions on the boosters or the third doses?
I don't see any.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Thanks, Kathy. Any questions at all for Kathy? Thank you, Kathy. Move on to Tri-County Opportunities Council, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tri-County Opportunity Council Board, we met twice, once for evaluation and planning committee met on July the 16th. And we had our regular meeting on July the 27th at 7 p.m. And I have a list of everything that we discussed it at the meeting, and everyone should have a copy of it. So if you have any questions for me to answer, I would try to answer them or try to find out the answers for you.
Questions for Marvin? Thanks, Marvin. Move on to United Counties Council of Illinois, UCCI, Doug Barster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Several of us attended the Galena meeting up at Eagle Ridge, so that went very well. The meetings were very informative. You have the minutes included in the packets. If you have any questions, please ask there. The next meeting will be held in Springfield this coming Monday at 9:30 a.m. I plan on attending. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them at this time.
Any questions for Mr. Barster? Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
We'll move on to executive claims. I entertain a motion to approve claims. Mr. Kitson, Mrs. Shippard. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carried. County officer reports, request for deposit of funds, orders paid and vacation. I need a motion to approve. Mrs. Shippard. Ms. Shippard. Mr. Kitson, seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll go down to the old business. We held over the ordinance regulating the development of wind energy systems. It's been held over since July. I need a motion to approve. Mr. Nicholson. Do I have a second? Mr. Copine. Any discussion? We held this over July. We talked about them. It's held over 30 days. Now we go ahead and vote to make it part of our ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll go to the ordinance amending the Liquor Control Act. It also was held over since July. I need a motion. Mr. Forster and Ms. Shippard. Any discussion? I got a first, I got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carried. Move to new business. So new business A, the earlier public hearing we had was recommended to the board. Now we have the resolution to approve it. So I guess we got to vote on this 3 times. So the cable television franchise agreement and fee. So do I have a motion? Mr. Williams, do I have a second? He motion to approve. Do I have a second? Mr. Norberg? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carried. We'll go to B, the resolution appointing supervisor of assessments. The motions are the resolutions in the back for Jennifer Boyd. Do I have a motion? Mr. Norberg, Mr. Nicholson seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. Welcome to the jungle there, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Since you gave me that pause, I'm going to take the microphone for a second. So I want to be the first to congratulate Jennifer publicly. I know that she's not a face that you're used to seeing around here, and you probably didn't even up until the last couple of months really recognize her name. But I want to assure you that she's worked for Lee County for 11 years, and in almost all of that 11 years, Jennifer has showed a great deal of leadership skills. Not only did she aggressively pursue getting herself educated in a brand new profession when she came on board 11 years ago, but she's also been a key person that has helped me train all the staff that has come since her. And I don't even remember how many people Jennifer trained. I'm not going to ask her to try and remember, but she trained a lot of people. She's been a couple. Yeah, and a couple of Jennifers she's trained. But anyway, she's done a great job over the years within my department. And even though you haven't been seeing her, I just want to assure you that I think she's going to do a great job going forward. And I personally am very excited to see all the places that she will go. So congrats, Jen.
Thank you. Congratulations. Move on, new business. C, resolution governing board. Resolution for lots. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution? Mr. Nicholson. Mr. Sheeline seconds it. Any discussion? What this does is it allows me to sign the grants for the lots program for capital grants, basically is all that it's doing. So any more discussion? Yes. Should be chair. So how do you change that? Who made the motion, original motion? John, let's turn to the pages of the resolution in your packet. I'd like to see if you would amend your motion on section 2, 3, and 4, and 5 of the governing board resolution. It states that Bob Olson, Lee County.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I just shouldn't change that to the chair.
I thought it'd been changed in there.
I did too, until, thanks, Charlie, for pointing
Okay,
that out.
I'll rescind. You want me to just amend?
I'd amend your motion,
To make it board chair rather than Bobbles.
yes,
Okay.
or
Then
designee, board chair or designee.
I'll make motion to approve that using the word board chair or designee rather than the name chairman. That close enough, Charlie? Okay.
So who seconded that? I don't remember who. Sheeline, Jim.
Yep. That's fine.
Any more discussion? So we're voting on the amended motion to change the verbiage there. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. So now we come to new business D. Ordinance regarding non-highway vehicles in the county of Lee. We had some changes today. Charlie, would you like to discuss the changes before we get into discussion? Because I think the motion should involve changes.
So there was some, can everybody hear me okay? There was some changes that happened throughout the week, last week with the committees. You should see those changes within the ordinance that's before you today. The only thing that has been changed as of today for your consideration is under section 5, regulation of non-highway vehicles. Subsection J. And that states that any violations of Title 625, Chapter 5 of the Illinois compiled statutes that are codified as petty offenses shall be adopted in this ordinance to the extent legally allowed and enforced against drivers, occupants of non-highway vehicles as county ordinance violations. This is so that the sheriff may enforce this ordinance and any of the vehicle code violations that are classified as only petty offenses as county ordinance violations, which would be able to allow the drivers or occupants that are being cited as such to be able to take care of those fines at the sheriff's office rather than having to come to court.
Any questions about that? Yes, King.
Chairman, I don't know if this applies, but I have a question on the change in the section E subsection I reference J rather a windshield. was added along with that was the fact if applicant driver does not have a windshield, applicant driver is required to wear safety eyewear or safety helmet with eye protection. My feelings on that, I don't think that's a fair safety issue. I think all motor vehicles, four-wheel vehicles in the state driven on the highway must have a windshield and windshield clearing devices, which is windshield wipers. I know it's brought up that going 30 to 35 mile an hour in the city is one thing, but we're talking about out in the county and township roads going 55 miles an hour, and we're talking debris that could come through. The idea of a windshield is the deflect or, debris from coming in. It's a safety. I would like to see that just changed and omit the part about wearing of eye protection. Just leave it as a windshield with a windshield clearing device, windshield wiper plates.
Mr. Hudson, I would agree with you. Let's get a motion and get it on the floor, then we'll discuss it from there, and we'll take that up at that point. Mr. Considine, what about the windshield? You want to discuss that when we get there? Okay, that's your motion. Do I have a second to that? Mr. Forrester seconds it. Now let's discuss it further. Go ahead, Mr. Hudson, and
back to the fact about the windshield wipers, it's a normal required safety equipment under the so-called Illinois vehicle scope and effects of special or required equipment. And I understand motorcycles are eye protection, but we're talking four-wheel drive vehicles that every other vehicle in this state under the IVC has to have a windshield. Dune buggies, people know they have to have a windshield, not any different. And I don't think we should lower our safety standards from what the Illinois Vehicle Code is suggested as proper equipment.
do they normally come with a windshield? No.
If I may, Mr.
Sure, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Mr. Enfield, I believe at that meeting suggested it was a $500 option. If you want to put one on, some of them come with it. But I feel if you want to apply, I think it's a good in the county. If we're willing to go with this, all vehicles should comply with it. And if that's an option, so be it, and then, comply with it by providing that option.
All right. Any other discussion?
I think it would be hard to mandate having a windshield in a UTV when motorcycles are going down the same road without one. Constituents are using them today. Most villages have a UTV ordinance or a golf cart ordinance that they can still drive around, and that is not a requirement in most of those. Headlights, tail lights, turn signals. So the county would be different than village ordinances.
We're trying to keep them the same, so they're all intertwined. Any more discussion? Mr. Considine, you want to change your motion? No, not, okay. Got a motion on the table, got a second. Any more discussion? Yes, Katie. Sure. All right. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. We'll go to E, budget amendment from the Highway Department for equipment purchases for 2021 for $270,000. I think they're going to purchase an excavator, a trailer, and a pickup with that. We got to make the budget amendment because we've got the dollars in there. We just didn't have it in the budget. I'd entertain a motion to approve that. Mr. Kitson. Do I have a second? Mr. Bailey. Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. I should explain that. The motion from Casey was to hold over for 30 days because that's what we have to do with an ordinance, just to clarify. Yeah, I apologize. All right, we already did the meeting rooms. We need to table that. It's on the agenda. When I have motion to,
That was brought back, it'll be brought back into properties in September.
okay, so
Yeah,
is that
I'm
your
sorry.
motion to table?
That's the way it was reflected in the minutes. I was surprised. Sorry, I was doing something else.
I know that, but we need a table. It's on our agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a second? Mr. Norberg, all those in favor to table that, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. New election equipment. I think we sent them out for bids. I think Nancy would like to talk on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to let the county board know that the new election equipment for my election department went out for bid. And the deadline is tomorrow at noon. So we will be meeting in the committee room at noon tomorrow to open any or all bids that I received for my new election equipment. Any questions? Harlan?
Mr. McLean.
I thought there was some possibility that could have been funded with AR funds. Not the case.
That's what you guys decided on, yes, but then I still, before that, I had to go out for bid. So I will be bringing those companies that came forward with the bids to that committee.
Mr. McLean's right. It passed the ARP committee on to finance. So once they get the bids in, it'll go to finance to approve, but it does, it did check all the boxes for the ARP committee. So them funds could be taken out of that.
In fact, we do think it's possible to be funded from the ARP money.
Yes.
That happened in this budget year, or is it ARP money available immediately?
It'll be, we'd like to see it happen immediately because I think our current contract runs out in November.
End of November, correct?
So we need to act on it next month. That's why we're talking about it tonight. Mr. Bailey?
Yes, as an election judge is serving, we are past due for needing new equipment. I've never served one time that one of the machines have not gone down here, so I hope we have a better outcome in the future.
Mr. Humphrey?
Are we getting lease payment bids on them too, Nancy, or is this just outright purchase?
Both.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I think if it fits the ARP category though, I think let's get the bids back and we'll decide. Let the finance decide. So, all right. Any other discussion about that? That's just here for informational purposes. All right. We already did H. I will go on down to appointments. Resolution to appointment William Shaw, trustee of Amboy Fire District. Do I have a motion? Mr. Hudson and Mr. Copine seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same motion carried. We have no executive session. We need a motion to pay mileage per diem. Mr. Kitson, I think you always get that one, I think, don't you? Do I have a second? Mr. Copine seconds that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All bills and appropriations allowed by a roll call vote. I need a motion. Mr. Farster and Ms. Shippert seconds that. Any discussion? Although roll call, go ahead, Nancy.
Kitson,
Yes.
Copain,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Norberg,
Yes.
Palin, Sheline,
Yes.
Shippert,
Yes.
Scrogstad,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Zeman,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
Considine,
Yes.
Farster,
Yes.
Horseman,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Humphrey,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Alan seconds it. All those in favor, to adjourn, signify by saying aye.